South Africa says it will introduce an additional Electoral Code of Conduct to deal with disinformation ahead of the November 4th local government elections. The measure is aimed at protecting the integrity of the electoral process. The IEC says the code will take effect once the election date is officially proclaimed alongside the existing Electoral Code of Conduct. The past weekend, the Commission held the last voter registration weekend. The registration will be closed at midnight on the day of the official proclamation of the election date. Let's speak now to Masego Shiburi, South Africa's Electoral Commission Deputy Chief Electoral Officer. A very good morning to you, Masego. Thank you so much for speaking to us. So let's perhaps just start off with this past weekend's activities and registration drive. Do we have figures yet on how many people have registered to vote?
Habari Tsepiso. Indeed, we have figures. We have compiled we have started the process of compiling the voters' roll, and to that end, the Commission will, at 1:00 today, release those figures to the South African public. We estimate that we've interacted with over 1.5 million people over the two voter registration dates. As I said, at 1:00, we will then release the analysis of those figures to indicate how many of those citizens were new entrants on the roll, how many were re-registering to accord with their new political boundaries so that they can influence outcomes of elections only in the areas in which they are ordinarily residents, to also indicate the gender breakdown as well as other demographic breakdown related to age on the voters' roll.
Perhaps just a recap of the last government elections, what not only the voter turnout was, but the number of registered voters. That was, I think, what year was it? 2016?
2020, the last local government elections were in 2021.
Apologies. I think I am looking at 2021. So just take us through what the differences have been, milestones that perhaps the IEC is looking at this year.
Okay. 2021 was a very unique election. You would recall it took place amid the COVID pandemic. So we had a very truncated timetable, but that did not dissuade contestants making themselves available. In that election in 2021, 95,000 candidates nominated by parties and independents stood for election to a finite number of seats, which were 10,400 around there across the country. We expect the number of candidates to increase as it is. 87 independents have already registered their interest, and 85 political parties have already begun capturing their nominated candidates on the online system. The closing date for those activities will be regulated in the timetable that the Commission will issue on Friday, the 7th of August, following proclamation of the elections by the minister responsible for local government. We anticipate that we will grow the voters' roll from that election by a factor of over 2 million voters. And when we announce, the Commission will announce where we stand indicatively in terms of the voters' roll for this indication, but there will be an increase on the number of voters on that roll. What we should work towards, all of us, is to increase the rate of turnout for the elections, because in 2021 we recorded the lowest ever participation rate in a local government election.
You mentioned that the local government elections do tend to draw a much lower turnout. Is it what is the main differences? Is it because people think that they are just voting for a party and they're not really fully coherent with ward and proportional representation? Dynamics, and that they actually work together?
There have been a number of studies to try understand what drives or what militates against participation in those elections. Some indicate that the contestants themselves do not properly profile the nature of that election, the closeness of that election to the lived everyday experience of voters, that local issues are more often subsumed by national matters. And in that context, some voters fail to make a connection between what is the relevance of the discourse in the campaigns vis-a-vis my everyday lived experience. So what we're asking is that if we could localize the campaigns to speak to the matters on the front door, on the front street of a voter, so that people can see the immediacy of their participation and the change that that participation can effect in their immediate surrounding.
Just in terms of the integrity of the local government elections, as I mentioned in the introduction, the IEC looking to introduce an electoral code of conduct to deal with disinformation ahead of the polls. That is alongside an already existing code of conduct. Why is it necessary? What changes will this make?
Conceptually, when you undertake an election, you require a number of preconditions to exist. One is that there must be free flow of information and correct information to facilitate informed choice by the voting public. There is an existing code. It is being updated to bring it in line with modern campaign mechanisms on new media, on digital media, and on social media. So the code is being extended to help us curb the spread of disinformation. And by disinformation, we mean uh, false information, knowing it to be so, and to restrict the ability of contestants, political parties, and independent candidates to campaign on the basis of falsehoods, false facts. The code will bind political contestants, candidates, and their supporters. So the balance that we need to strike is to allow free flow of information in a democracy, but only keep that which is deleterious to proper informed participation on a basis of informed choice, and those things that could lead to the elections being characterized as unfree and unfair.
And at what point should at least the public understand that a political party or commentator or even a voter has gone beyond the freedom of expression, that they are now in breach of this amended electoral code, but also what are the punitive measures that the IC can take should that happen?
In terms of the scheme, the Commission is not vested with the authority to make findings that there has been a breach, nor can it impose sanctions. If the Commission investigates and forms an opinion that there may be a breach, it must refer that matter to the Electoral Court for the court to impose sanctions. However, we are proactively working with big social media and tech companies for self-regulation so that we can refer false content to them and that they can take down that content from their platforms. We are working with political parties again to self-regulate, to limit the information that is put out there in their name, and that they must proactively remove information that is purportedly placed on social media in the name of the party, which is patently false. We will also create a portal through which people can then raise the issues so that we can attend to them, either ask for a takedown, or if it is serious enough, ask the Electoral Court to impose punitive sanctions on the offending party or candidate.
We're going to leave it there, but thank you very much for that update and just sharing insights on what is expected of the upcoming local government elections on the 4th of November. That is Masego Shiburi, South Africa's Electoral Commission Deputy Chief Electoral Officer.
Women who lead.